In 2004, Lisa Arkin's life took a huge turn when she won $1 million in the Massachusetts state lottery. Back then, she was a single mom dreaming of opening her own seafood restaurant. To celebrate her big win, she threw a fancy party with 20 of her closest friends and family, splurging on expensive $200 bottles of wine. But that party was just the start of Arkin's spending spree. She sent her son to an expensive private school costing $10,000 a year, went on luxurious vacations, bought a fully furnished house, and made a deal with a financial company. She gave them $15,000 of her lottery money every year in exchange for a $200,000 lump sum up front, trying to avoid a $35,000 yearly payment. Sadly, things didn't go well with the financial company. The deal she made actually made her pay more taxes on her winnings. But Arkin didn't give up on her dream. She opened her restaurant, Fisherman's Corner. Running a restaurant turned out to be tougher than she thought. About 67% of the money she made went back into the business for things like paying employees and buying supplies. After all the expenses, she was left with only 6% profit. The odds were against her, with most restaurants failing within the first year, and almost 80% failing within 5 years. Arkin learned these tough lessons when her restaurant failed. Looking back, she said winning the lottery wasn't as great as people think, and it made her feel really sad. Over the course of 10 years, the National Bureau of Economic Research looked into how winning the Swedish lottery affected marriages. They found something interesting. When men won, they usually tried to keep their marriages going, but women were more likely to want a divorce soon after winning. Hello Divorce shared some insights. If a married couple wins the lottery and then gets divorced, they have to split the money according to state laws. But if one person wins after the divorce is finalized, that money is usually considered personal property, although they might still need to pay child support or alimony. Denise Rossi's story is a good example of this. In 1996, she won $1.3 million in the lottery and immediately filed for divorce from her husband, Thomas Rossi, just 11 days later. Even though they'd been married for 25 years, Denise kept her win a secret from Thomas for 2 years. He only found out when he got a letter about lottery payments. The California Lottery Commission confirmed everything to Judge Richard Denner, who ruled that Denise had broken the law by not telling her husband about the money. So she had to pay him $66,800 each year for 20 years. In 1982, Curtis Sharp from Newark, New Jersey, won a big $5 million lottery jackpot, according to Fox 5 Atlanta. He was known for being quite unusual, even appearing in a New York State lottery commercial with both his wife and girlfriend when he collected his prize. But by 2016, Sharp's life had changed a lot. Even though he found comfort in his faith and became a Baptist minister in Antioch, Tennessee, he had spent all his money. He said he spent it on fancy living, like expensive homes, cars, family, and affairs outside of his marriage. $5 million might sound like a lot, but when you adjust it for inflation, it's actually like having almost $16 million in today's money. If Sharp had been careful with his money and got some advice, things could have been very different. Even just saving $100,000 and adding $1,000 to it every month for 38 years could have left him with over $700,000 by the time he passed away. It's clear that having someone help him manage his money could have changed his life. According to Unilad, Evelyn Adams, who used to work at a convenience store in New Jersey, won big in 1985 with a $3.9 million lottery prize. What's even more amazing is that just 4 months later, she won another $1.4 million in the lottery. The chances of winning both were incredibly low, like 1 in 32 million and 1 in 5.3 million, respectively. But Adams didn't manage her money wisely. She had a habit of taking big risks with business ventures and admitted to being addicted to gambling. She spent a lot of time and money at Atlantic City casinos, even though she had already won big in the lottery. Her weekly spending of $100 on lottery tickets, even after winning twice, showed she might have had a deeper problem. Adams did some good things with her money, like paying off debts and setting up a college fund for her daughter. But she also gave away a lot of money to her friends. With her gambling addiction, it's not surprising that Adams used up all her winnings by 2012 and ended up living in a trailer. A study by the Association of Consumer Research showed that people who are addicted to playing the lottery share traits with problem gamblers, like taking risks and spending too much. Adam's story is a reminder that even lucky people can end up in bad situations if they don't manage their money well. Being kind is a good thing, but sometimes being too generous can lead to tough lessons, as Janet Lee found out after winning the lottery. She was a South Korean immigrant working in a wig shop when she won $18 million in the Illinois state lottery in 1993. She got $620,000 every year for the next 20 years. After winning, Lee and her family moved to a fancy neighborhood in St. Louis and became known for their charity work. In 1997, Lee was one of the top donors to the Democrats, and the next year, she was among the top 3 individual political donors in Missouri. Lee also gave $150,000 to help the unemployed and the Korean community. Lee didn't just stop there. She also helped out local organizations like the St. Louis Church Community and a local Korean church. She donated to the Democratic Party and hung out with big names like Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and the South Korean president at the time, Kim Dae-jung. She even got recognized by Washington University School of Law for her donations. But Lee made some financial mistakes. She leased expensive cars, didn't buy a house, and maxed out her credit cards. As a result, she had to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy just 8 years later. She owed $2.5 million and had less than $700 in her bank account. In 2001, a 46-year-old man from Kentucky named David Lee Edwards, who had spent a lot of his life in prison for bank robbery, was struggling to make ends meet in his parents' old home after they passed away. He was so broke that he couldn't even pay his water bill and had to borrow money from a friend. With just $7 in his pocket, he bought a slice of pizza and 2 lottery tickets. Surprisingly, he won a huge $27 million jackpot in the Powerball, choosing to get all the money at once instead of getting it in smaller payments over time. David and his girlfriend Shauna went on a wild spending spree, blowing through $12 million in the first year. They bought fancy cars, a private jet with a pilot, and a huge mansion in Palm Beach with a tennis court. They also tried out different businesses like owning racehorses, running a limo service, and starting a fiber optics company. But like in other stories we've heard, David's struggles with addiction, especially to OxyContin, caused him a lot of problems. He got into legal trouble, got sick from sharing needles, and within 5 years, he lost all his money. What's even sadder is that David tried to get help managing his money. He hired a financial planner who promised he could make $85,000 every month from investments. But sadly, David died at 58 in hospice care, with no money left to his name. In the US, filing a fake tax return is a big deal, as the Internal Revenue Service takes it seriously. Whether it's your regular income taxes or taxes on lottery winnings, if the IRS catches on, they might start a long investigation and even take you to court. This could mean serious penalties, like going to jail and paying fines up to $100,000. On top of that, you could face additional fines up to $250,000. Unfortunately, Alex and Rhoda Toth had to learn this lesson the hard way. Back in 1990, the Toths won a huge $13 million in the lottery. For the next 15 years, they lived it up, spending lots of money on fancy trips and hanging out with rich and famous people. But even with all their money, they ended up struggling financially, with just $24.76 after buying the winning ticket. Their troubles didn't stop there. Their teenage son and his girlfriend got into some trouble, like hurting their dog and setting fire to Alex Toth's fancy car. And in 2001 and 2002, the Toths had to declare bankruptcy to try to pay off their debts while keeping their stuff. But things got worse. In 2006, they got in trouble for lying on their tax returns. They could have gone to jail for 24 years and had to pay the IRS over $550,000 in back taxes. Andrew Jackson Whitaker Jr., known as Jack to his friends, became famous for his poor handling of money. According to the New York Times, he got an incredible Christmas gift in 2002 when he won $315 million in the Powerball, the biggest single-ticket win in U.S. history at the time. Choosing to get all the money at once, he ended up with $113.4 million after taxes. But his luck didn't last long. His wife divorced him, his 17-year-old granddaughter died from drug addiction in 2004, and his daughter battled cancer before passing away in 2009. He also lost property in a fire, dealt with thefts, and got into legal fights with casino workers. Even though he was already worth $17 million from his construction business in West Virginia, Whitaker made some really bad choices. He once left $545,000 in his car outside a strip club, and it got stolen twice. He also got into trouble for writing a big check that bounced at Caesars Atlantic City and was accused of asking female workers for sex at places he liked to visit. Whitaker died in 2020 at 72 years old. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel if you like topics about health, fitness, and finance. See you on the next video.